you. Dear friends, Your Royal Highness, what I actually try to call myself is a living yardstick. And what does that mean? Well, I operate in a national political setting, and I try to ask myself, does EAT make a difference? So this is the third forum. And when EAT was created and I was member of the advisory board, I told myself, you know, the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work. It's only upside potential. So when I came here, and I'd like to share with you from a national platform how I see that right now. And I can disclose that the answer is positive. It is making a difference. When I came here the first time, I said I did so out of frustration, because as a national politician, I felt that we were sucked into silos. I had been minister for 8 years, foreign minister, health minister, and I saw that, you know, it works in silos. You can do the talk, but really getting across is hard. But I also came out of excitement because EAT was trying to do this triple helix of food, health and sustainability and connect politics, business and science. I find that very exciting, connecting the dots. So is it working? Are we seeing effects? I think we are at the global scene. You can see that organizations are talking to each other differently. Business and politics are dealing with each other differently. And science is also coming to the fore. The international backdrop is filled with anxiety and drama out there, but let's push some of that aside and see that there are also positive trends that may in fact take crucial steps forward on the role that is being paved out by EAT. So it's up to us now really to grasp that setting. The Paris Climate Agreement and the SDGs that you've heard so much about today, I think are pivotal changes. For the first time, we transitioned from MDGs to SDGs. This is a bit tribal language, but we all understand what we talk about here. I had, in fact, never thought it would be possible to get the SDGs in such an inclusive way as we managed, or as you managed, the international community managed. And this is a potentially momentous step in human history. What we now must do is to secure that these agreements have more profound impact than the MDGs and the Kyoto Protocol. That's where we come from. And that, I think, is a big, big challenge. We have done a lot of top-down last year. Now comes the challenge from bottom-up. From us as consumers, businesses, politicians in the local scene. The international system and the multilateral need to reorient themselves towards achieving these goals. But the test really lies in the bottom-up. You will never get the bottom-up into this room. But we who go out of this room will have to engage the bottom-up and make this meaningful if we are going to succeed. And actually, back then, I thought when I was in government, when the SDGs, the work with them were launched, and I never thought it would be that successful in really engaging broadly. Civil society, business, and very profound partnerships. Much more inclusive than the MDGs. Now we need to preserve this commitment, not least from the private sector and civil society. We need to excel at these private-public partnerships. My background in this is from health. I've seen it work on vaccines and immunization with Gavi. I've seen it work with the Global Fund. I've seen it work with UNITAID. So a lot of that innovative, disruptive way of working against the UN system sometimes has to be applied here. I believe that health is a sector where most innovation has taken place since 2000. It has created a bit of shaky international system around it, but it was worth it. And that same will to really move forward bottom-up has to be renewed here. Then, of course, we have to bring this back to the national scene. The SDGs have to be applied in Malawi, in Brazil, and in Norway. And there are a few encouraging examples. Indonesia has established a SDG National Secretariat incorporating the SDGs under the medium-term development planning and annual working plans. Well, that's one step. Germany is updating their sustainability strategy with SDGs. And in Norway, the government has included SDG reports under the national budget. So now we have to monitor and hold government responsible in Parliament. I'm in Parliament, I'm not in government for the moment. But we will hold the government accountable. And that is very positive. You know, the government is engaging, and that's how it has to be. So I think with Paris and the SDG, yes, it's hopeful, it's moving forward. But then I wanted to share with you, and having listened to the head of Unilever here, I'd like to share with you something from my daily work as a national parliamentarian and politician. And I like to do that by referring to what I experienced last week. And I think this is a tribute to EAT, because what I now will say, I don't think I would have made the links between what I experienced last week had it not been for EAT. So here's the story. I started the week by celebrating the World Ocean Day on a few islands outside Norway's second largest city of Bergen. And I went there to visit Norwegian fish farms and the newly built Blue Competence Center, bringing together skills on how to manage the oceans. The food produced in the ocean space accounts for only a small part of our diet worldwide, 3, 4, 5%. The ocean covers 70% of the globe. You know, again, why do we call the planet Earth? It should be called ocean. So there's a massive untapped potential to secure future proteins from oceans. And I think we see that better through part of the work that EAT has done on healthy diets and on the sustainability. But the ocean ecosystem is the largest ecosystem that we deal with as humans. And we now start to know how much we need to know about the oceans. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the seabed of the great oceans. The average depth of oceans is 3,500 not kilometers, but meters. We don't have mountains that high in Norway. And we now start to know how much is there in terms of resources, vulnerability, and potential. Norwegian aquaculture has grown to become one of the most robust industries in my country, and is planning to 5- or 6-fold double its production. Now, that has to be done in a sustainable way, and it is necessary to do it at home and abroad in order to feed a growing world population. And it can only be done if we politicians provide a framework that is conducive and setting sustainable patterns. But then we also have to protect the oceans as a threatened species. And this is MDG number 16. So here again, I think we see the links between sustainability and food production and human health. They are coming together. Sweden is doing a great job in putting ocean health on the global agenda. And just before coming here, I visited the Deputy Prime Minister, who is in charge of that agenda. And Sweden is planning to arrange a big follow-up of the SDG 16 next year with Fiji, setting a new agenda on oceans. Norway has 6 to 7 times more ocean than land. And I can tell you we will be engaged in that as well. And finally, in the development of the blue industries, we can learn a lot from the green. The green and the blue come together here. The bioeconomy has a green side and a blue side. And you see from research how much they are linked. And this brings me to the second thing I experienced last week. That was a visit to the Norwegian Farmers Union's General Assembly. The Norwegian farming model works in Norway, not in every other country. It is partly Arctic farming. But I told the Norwegian farmers that they are part of the solution in achieving sustainable development. They will have to be part of cutting 40% of emissions that we need to do by 2030. But they are also going to produce more food to a growing Norwegian population. And how can we do that in a sustainable way? We cannot do it by issuing government instructions. We can only do it by engaging every individual farmer in seeing how he and she can be part of that solution. As we do here at EAT today. My colleague, the mayor of Oslo, is having a row of applications to start urban farming in my city, in the capital. And all of these things become much more meaningful and easy to explain to people, thanks to EAT, I believe. EAT is connecting dots here in an important way. So if we are to achieve the 60 or so food-related SDG targets and to create a food system that does not degrade the environment or public health, we need to create the green bioeconomy and closely link it with the blue bioeconomy and draw the components from the other. And that brings me to the last thing I did last week. And that was to attend the final day and the handout of diplomas to the last class of veterinarians educated at university in Oslo. Veterinarians are really fascinating people. And I have a nephew among them, so I was very engaged in that. And at the speech that the students gave to the teachers, they said, during these 6 years, hard years of study, we really envied those who did medicine, because they only have to deal with one species. Us, complicated people. But we have to deal with rats and cows and horses and all the rest of it. But the reason why I really am fascinated by the veterinarians is because they bring the notion One Health. They do green and blue economy. So when we wish them well in the clinic to deal with horses and cows, and to deal with fish. And they bring, the youth of the veterinarians bring to the table, and I know they have been inspired, Gunhild, by you. They were here, and they are here, with the One Health notion. So, the worst thing that could happen to EAT was that it didn't make a difference. But the best thing that happens to EAT, and I believe it is hopeful for the follow-up purpose, is that it is actually making a difference. Slowly, step by step. So I would like to end by saying that frustration is a good motivation to keep moving, but also excitement. And as we move towards the 4th EAT Forum, we should really try to highlight where gradually we are making a difference in connecting dots, seeing the links of this double, triple that I described. Thank you for the attention.